He never yelled, never cheated, never laid a hand on her. And yet, she felt like she was slowly disappearing. He said he was just being stoic, but she called it something else: emotional abandonment. Is it possible to destroy a marriage without ever raising your voice? Let's find out in today's story, only on Channel Stoic in the city. Evelyn used to love Sunday mornings. She'd wake up early, make cinnamon coffee, and tiptoe past the kids' room just to have a moment alone with her husband before the chaos of cartoons and cereal began. 7 years ago, Marcus would smile, kiss her on the forehead, and whisper, "It's just you and me, babe." Now he barely looked up from his phone. The silence in their kitchen wasn't peaceful. It was weighty, like a fog that refused to lift. Marcus hadn't yelled, he hadn't cheated, he hadn't hurt her physically. But somehow, Evelyn felt erased. He wasn't angry, he wasn't cold. He was just absent. And that, in many ways, was worse. She used to fight it. She'd leave notes in his laptop bag, ask him to go on walks, plan surprise date nights. Each time, Marcus would smile politely and say, "Thanks, but I'm good." He always said he was good. And yet, Evelyn hadn't felt good in years. She tried to talk to him, really talk. But Marcus would say things like, "Let's not dwell on emotions. They're fleeting. You're letting your attachments cloud your mind." He called it emotional discipline. He said he was practicing Stoicism. Evelyn didn't know much about philosophy, but she knew this: being married to someone who didn't yell, didn't fight, didn't feel, was like standing in a room where no one ever looked you in the eye. She wasn't angry, she was exhausted. Not from shouting matches, but from the quiet. Because the truth is, there are many ways to disappear in a marriage. And Marcus had found the quietest one. Before we go any further, comment where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe, because tomorrow's story is one you don't want to miss. This story isn't about abuse in the way we usually talk about it. There were no bruises, no screaming, no broken plates. Just a woman slowly losing herself to the echo of a man who thought he was being strong, when in reality he was just unavailable. He thought he was practicing Stoicism. She thought he'd stopped caring. And maybe they were both right. Marcus sat in his home office, a leather-bound copy of Meditations open on the desk. The house was quiet, the kids asleep. Evelyn, he assumed, was watching TV in the living room. He thought he was doing the right thing. No yelling, no fighting, no drama. Wasn't that what a good husband did? In his journal, he wrote, "Control yourself, don't react to her emotions, stay above it." He underlined control 3 times. When Evelyn cried after another missed date night, Marcus didn't yell. He didn't comfort her either. He simply said, "Emotions are fleeting, Evelyn. Don't let them control you." He believed he was teaching her something valuable. She felt like she was talking to a wall. Marcus loved quoting Epictetus. It's not things that disturb us, but our view of them. But he misunderstood the heart of the teaching. Stoicism didn't tell him to be absent. It told him to be present without being ruled by passion. Still, Marcus convinced himself his silence was wisdom. That his lack of reaction was proof of mastery. He wore calm like armor, never realizing it also kept love out. Evelyn began to feel like a student, not a partner. Every time she opened up, he corrected her feelings with a quote or a lecture. It wasn't conversation, it was a philosophy lesson she never asked for. And yet, inside Marcus, there was fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of becoming his father, who used to yell and slam doors. Fear that if he opened up, all the feelings he'd bottled would come pouring out. So he chose silence. He called it Stoicism. He thought it made him strong. But real Stoicism isn't about not feeling. It's about feeling deeply, and not letting those feelings make you cruel. Marcus had mastered the first part, detachment. He never learned the second connection. And while he congratulated himself on being calm, Evelyn began to quietly drift into another kind of storm. Loneliness. Evelyn didn't want grand gestures. She didn't want roses or surprise trips or candlelit dinners. She just wanted her husband to see her. She tried. She left handwritten notes on his nightstand, sent him memes during the workday hoping he'd smile, even offered to join his Stoic journaling practice, just to feel close. Marcus always responded the same way. A nod, a thanks, a vague smile. Never cruel, never angry, just unavailable. At first, Evelyn blamed herself. Maybe she was too needy, too emotional. Maybe she was the one expecting too much. But the human heart wasn't designed to live without connection. And even the strongest love wilts without water. Every time she reached out and he withdrew, a part of her hardened. Not out of resentment, but survival. You can't keep extending your hand to someone who never takes it. She started saying less. Stopped bringing up hard topics. Quit trying to schedule date nights. Because rejection doesn't always come with a slam. Sometimes it arrives dressed in politeness. Marcus thought they were doing fine. No arguments, no outbursts, quiet dinners. In his mind, silence meant peace. But in her heart, it meant loneliness. She missed the man who used to argue passionately, fight for her, apologize with tears in his eyes. At least that man had fire. This man? He had stillness, but no spark. And she wasn't starving for drama. She was starving for presence. Marcus believed he was winning. Every day he woke up, meditated, journaled, and went to work without a ripple in his mind. No anger, no panic, no highs or lows. He prided himself on that. While Evelyn cried in silence, he praised himself for staying calm. He saw her emotions as waves. Unstable, dramatic. He saw himself as the lighthouse. But what he didn't realize was this. A lighthouse that never lights up doesn't guide anyone. It just stands there, quiet, cold, and alone. Marcus reads Stoic texts daily. He wrote mantras like, "Nothing outside my mind can disturb me. Let go of what you cannot control." But he applied these not as tools of resilience, but as excuses to disconnect. When Evelyn expressed hurt, Marcus heard drama. When she asked for connection, he interpreted attachment. When she needed affection, he saw it as weakness. The truth? He wasn't in control. He was in denial. Stoicism never taught withdrawal. It taught engagement without emotional chaos. It taught courage, not avoidance. But Marcus, like many who misunderstand the philosophy, used it as a way to retreat from emotional responsibility. He thought he was strong. But strength isn't measured by how little you feel. It's measured by how much you stay, even when it's uncomfortable. And Marcus had left the marriage long before Evelyn packed her things. He just hadn't noticed, because in his illusion of control, he thought silence was enough. Their anniversary came and went without a word. No flowers, no dinner, not even a happy anniversary. Evelyn didn't expect fireworks, just acknowledgement, just presence. But Marcus barely glanced at the calendar. That night, she lit a single candle at the kitchen table. She poured 2 glasses of wine. Waited. He didn't come. When he finally walked in, he looked at the setup, blinked, and said, "I didn't know we were doing anything tonight." Evelyn didn't shout. She just looked at him and said, quietly, "Do you even see me anymore?" Marcus paused, then shrugged. "You're letting external things get to you. It's just a day. We shouldn't be so attached." That was the moment something cracked. Not just in her heart, but in the foundation of their marriage. Because this wasn't Stoicism. This was emotional violence in disguise. It wasn't the kind of violence you see in police reports. But it left bruises all the same, on trust, on intimacy, on her sense of being. It told her, your feelings are irrational. Your needs don't matter. You're alone. And yet, Marcus genuinely thought he was being calm. He wasn't yelling, he wasn't angry. He was just absent. But absence, when persistent, when unyielding, can hurt more than rage ever could. Because it teaches the other person, you don't even exist. That night, Evelyn blew out the candle, drank her wine alone, and realized silence too can scream. The next morning, Evelyn didn't argue. She didn't cry. She just packed a small bag. Toothbrush, pajamas for the kids, a few books, her wedding ring left on the kitchen counter. When Marcus came down the stairs and saw her near the door, he finally spoke with some urgency. "Where are you going?" She didn't raise her voice. She just said, "To somewhere I can feel something." He stood there, stunned. "You're overreacting. This isn't the Stoic way. You're letting emotion." She interrupted, gently. "No, I'm finally listening to it." Then she opened the door and left. Blank, blank. Marcus sat in silence for hours. At first, he clung to his mantras. This is outside my control. Accept it. Let it go. But for the first time in years, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt hollow. He looked around the quiet house. The wine glasses still on the table. The candle wick burned to a stub. And something inside him, something long buried, rose to the surface. It wasn't rage. It wasn't fear. It was grief. He realized then, he hadn't been practicing Stoicism. He had been avoiding life, avoiding love, avoiding discomfort, avoiding her. He finally saw it. Calm without connection isn't virtue. It's vacancy. Evelyn didn't come back the next day, or the day after. And Marcus, for once, didn't try to control the outcome. He stopped journaling about detachment. He started writing about regret. He didn't post quotes anymore. He sat with his own silence and let it hurt. Weeks passed. He began therapy, not to win her back, but to understand why he pushed her away in the first place. He reread Marcus Aurelius, not to escape, but to reflect. He finally saw what he'd missed. Stoicism was never about feeling nothing. It was about feeling everything and choosing your response with integrity. One night, alone again in the kitchen, Marcus lit a candle. Not to mourn, not to fix, but to remember. He whispered, as if to no one. Silence isn't strength when it makes someone feel invisible. And somewhere across town, Evelyn sat with her kids. No bitterness, no rage, just peace. She had stopped hoping he'd change and started choosing herself. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do in a quiet marriage is walk away before you forget the sound of your own voice. This story isn't just about a broken marriage. It's about how misunderstood strength can become weakness in disguise. Many people adopt Stoicism to survive pain. But when used improperly, it becomes a wall, not a bridge. Real Stoicism isn't about shutting down emotions. It's about choosing how to respond, not refusing to feel. Emotional connection is not a sign of weakness. It's the core of human resilience. In a world that often rewards detachment, this story reminds us that vulnerability, presence, and intimacy are not flaws to overcome, but strengths to practice. If this story moved you, pause and ask yourself, have you ever mistaken emotional distance for strength? Let us know in the comments. Share this video with someone who needs it. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because next episode is even more haunting. Have you ever been in a relationship where silence hurt more than shouting? Do you think emotional detachment can be healthy? Or is it just another form of self-protection? We want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Your experience might help someone else feel a little less alone today.